Everyday people working 9 to 5, saving up that money, trying to survive, investing in the future, trying to be wise, you gonna be money hero. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nik Johnson, host of Everyday Money Heroes, and I've reached early retirement. I'm here to provide information on how to obtain financial independence and inspire you through sharing stories of everyday people who are turning knowledge into freedom.
That hustle, always reaching for the sky. We're gonna be money heroes, never gonna shy.
Hello and welcome to Everyday Money Heroes, where we provide information and inspiration to people of all ages to take control of their financial journey. I am your host, Nik Johnson, and today we will get into saving money on food. This is the second part of the big three that we discussed earlier. The big three, just as a reminder, was food, transportation, and shelter. We've already done a video about shelter. I'll be happy to link that down below, but we're going to get into food today. So, why food? First of all, we all have to eat. So, if we are required to do that, let's identify ways that we can make intentional decisions about our food, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are not being wasteful, but don't feel deprived also. So one of the things we want to do is just really identify how can we go ahead and do those things. So first of all, I'm going to share with you 12 tips that I've identified about that. There are several more, but those are just some tips here that are top of mind. And before I get into that, just want to make sure, if you haven't, that you would either subscribe or follow us um, on your preferred platforms. We greatly appreciate that. We'll show love to the algorithm, and it will help to show us to additional individuals. All right. So first of all, once we get into talking about food, there's a lot of different things we could do around food. We're not going to talk about, eating out, because that will actually, you could do a whole episode on eating out and saving money around that. So what we're going to talk about right now is just purchasing food to prepare at home. Okay. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is creating a weekly meal plan. Okay. Why do you want to do that? You want to plan your meals ahead of time. It helps you stay on budget. It avoids impulse buys and helps to reduce food waste. So it's extremely important. So if you don't create a meal plan, what you find is that you'll find a couple things. First of all, you'll find yourself going into the grocery store, kind of grabbing things with no rhyme or reason. And what happens when you go there and you're just kind of grabbing things off the shelf, those things that were not purchased with an intention, what you'll find is that those actual things will end up possibly going bad, not being used. And that's a great waste of money. So we don't want to do that. So we want to make sure that we are intentional about what we are purchasing when we go to the grocery store. Okay, so do a meal plan. At this particular point, if you don't know, you know some of the things that your family enjoys or you enjoy yourself. So you want to make sure to get those things and make sure that you plan meals. So if you know that you want to have spaghetti one day, hey, you might need, ground beef or turkey or, pasta sauce, pasta, things like that. So it really gives you a game plan once you go into the grocery store. And also it allows you to kind of go through, your pantry, your cupboard or whatever you have on your cabinets, see what's already there. You can leverage those things because when you have a meal plan, you'll constantly have the opportunity to kind of reuse those things versus kind of when you make one-off meals. I'm not saying that you can't have one-off meals every now and then, do something different. But what you want to do is kind of limit those things because you'll find yourself kind of buying these specialty ingredients that you might not necessarily have a use for often. So we want to make sure to stay ahead of that. Second thing is to just be intentional. Be intentional with your shopping. And this kind of goes hand in hand when you're creating a meal plan. So you want to make sure that once you're creating a meal plan, that you are sticking to it, staying away from those impulse buys. And so when you go there, don't just kind of aimlessly walk up and down the aisles. You want to make sure that you actually have a game plan when you go inside there. So that's what's really important. So that meal planning is a game plan for us when it comes to purchasing food for our meals. Next thing is that you want to take portion control into consideration. Um, Nothing wrong with creating a big hearty pot of something to eat, but at the same time, you want to be mindful of that because what will happen is that especially um, if you uh, find that you grow tired of eating something after a while, you want to make sure to be mindful of that. So first of all, some things that you make, it just doesn't have a long shelf life. If you're making something, so you want to make sure that you take portion control into consideration. Um, Far too often, you'll find yourself going through your freezer and you'll find leftovers from meals that you had because you may have constantly been cooking that week and forgot you had something inside of there, or anything can happen. So what you want to do is, understand how much you'll be eating when you're actually creating your meal. So you want to go ahead and be strategic around that. So take portion control consideration. You don't want to waste food. I said, by understanding the right portion size, you can reduce waste and stretch your ingredients even further. What goes with portion control is embracing leftovers. Say, for instance, you did make too much. Embrace leftovers. Some individuals don't like leftovers. I personally have never had an issue with leftovers. I find it okay. I know personally myself, I can usually go 2 or 3 days on leftovers. I'm okay with that. Some people, they can only get 1 day out of it. Then maybe they might eat leftovers the next day, but third day is not an option for them. So just kind of understand, how do you enjoy leftovers? If you make a large dinner, are you okay with taking that for lunch at work the next day or just eating it for lunch the next day? Are you willing to repurpose that leftover? Say for instance, maybe you had a rotisserie chicken one day, and then the next day, maybe there's enough to make um, some fajitas. You never know. So really be okay with embracing leftovers and really becoming creative with those things. Next one that I like is one I don't know how I learned about this, but one of the things I want to share with you is I like to call it refrigerator gardening. And so basically what that is that you can use scraps from the food that you purchase at the farmer's market or at the grocery store, and you can plant those things. And so I know for a fact, my wife is really good at using tomatoes, onions, potatoes, even collard greens, lettuce. You can all those things. You'll be surprised what you can do with it. And so a lot of the stuff doesn't take a whole lot. Literally, you can do a lot of the stuff in a 5 gallon bucket. Or you can have a small raised garden. It doesn't take a whole lot, but you can literally go, if you open up the refrigerator and you might see potato that has like those little spuds growing off the side of them, you can actually plant those in the ground. Lettuce. If you cut the bottom of the lettuce and just like stick it in a cup of water, it'll start to take root and grow. Celery will do that also. Um, Tomatoes are really good at that. Just take them and just throw them in some good soil and water them, and literally tomatoes will start growing. So you'll be surprised at that. It doesn't take you don't have to have a massive green thumb to be able to do that, but at the same time, it allows you the opportunity to have actually some fresh vegetables at home. It won't cost you any additional money other than just the watering. You really don't even need a lot of fancy fertilizers. You can actually compost too if you want to. So there's a lot of things that you can do there, but it's actually pretty easy. If you come to our home, you'll see that we do have a garden. And a lot of that stuff that's in our garden actually started from, you know, leftover, tomatoes and potatoes that we actually had in the refrigerator. So definitely give that a shot. And if you do try that, or if you have done it, let us know down in the comments. That would be great to hear. Um, Eat no or less meat. Meat is expensive. Okay. You might hear someone talk about going meatless or meatless Monday. One thing that we've tried at our home is to institute a meatless Monday. Hasn't gotten as much traction as I wanted it to, but definitely if you can do that, it'll save a great amount of money. Um, Things like lentils and things like that, they can be very fulfilling if you're looking for protein. Those are protein sources. Um, and they can be very flavorful also. So not saying that you have to completely cut meat out, but just give an idea. You can cut that meat out, or you can go back cutting one day out, like I mentioned with the Meatless Monday, or just eating less meat. Just reducing that portion size of that meat, you'll find that you'll save a significant amount of money. Calculate how much it costs per person per meal. And so that's the next tip. And so, do you know how much it costs for you to actually prepare a meal? It's really easy for when we go out at a restaurant and we purchase something, but do you know how much it actually costs for you to prepare your meal at home? So there is some guidance. I went out to the USDA website. They have these different meal plans. They have like a thrifty plan, a low cost, moderate cost, and liberal kind of food plan. Their guidance is that for a family of four, it'll cost $11.07 a person to feed them. That's a little high to me. Okay. I know at one point, if you haven't heard of Choose FI, they actually produced like a recipe book. You can go and Google Choose FI recipes, and they literally have a series of recipes that they've created that are budget friendly and tasty. Okay. When they produce this, I want to say like maybe like around 2020, I think they were saying it was around like $2-ish per serving. Now, granted, it's been a whole lot of inflation that's happened since 2020, but I think you can honestly get a great tasting, fulfilling meal easily at $5 to $7 per person. And I mean, that's actually a really good meal. I remember when I first got married, my wife and I, we would go and we would calculate it. Now, granted, this has been about 25 years ago, but we could do like around easily $2 back then, $1.50, and that was like including like dessert too. But that was a while ago. So definitely go and look at it. And why does that matter? Because then you can actually identify, okay, this is what it's costing us to eat per meal. And then you can figure out, okay, are there certain things I can do to even modify that? If you have a meal that you enjoy and you see that it is only $2 per person per meal, right, okay, maybe we could step it up a little bit, or we can maybe pull it back a little bit. It's up to you, but it's important to kind of understand those numbers. Next thing you want to do is when it comes to fresh fruit and vegetables, those things don't have a really long shelf life. So what you like to do is just go ahead and freeze those things if you can. Okay, so go ahead, freeze those. All right, for our fruit, you can freeze those because they're really good for things like smoothies, things like that. For the vegetables, you can freeze them, you can bring them out, you can boil them, you can grill them, and things like that. So definitely, once you start to get to that point where you see them getting, you know, a little softer to touch or whatever, you might want to do that. I know one of the things I like to do with my bananas is that since I put in my smoothies in the morning anyway, after a couple days, if it starts to seem like they might be getting a little overripe, I just take the peel off of them, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, and then I add it to my blender in the morning. They're already frozen, so it really helps with my smoothie. So you can do that. Also, what you can do is use coupons. Okay, nothing wrong with coupons. Plenty of places they send out flyers. They do tons of things to assist you in identifying, certain items that might be on some type of sale. And so use coupons for those as well. You want to join any loyalty um, programs that they may have. I know Publix is really big here in the South. I just got a email today saying, hey, you know what? Here's a just because, $2 off if you spend 10. $2 might not seem like a big deal, but if we're looking at the cost per meal, that could actually be a entire meal for someone in your home. So to think about it that way. So you want to make sure to use coupons and join any loyalty groups. Also, next one is that you want to make sure to review weekly ads, circulars, if they have anything like that. A lot of times now, most places just have an app you can go look at, or you can pull it up online. So just review that, see if some of those items that you use on a consistent basis might be on sale. Next, what you want to do is shop from the back. So what do I mean? Anything with expiration date, shop from the back, because what happens is that whenever you go into a store where there's milk, anything with expiration date, whenever stock clerks come, what they're supposed to do, what they typically do, is that anything that might expire earlier, they rotate it, put it in the front, and then they put the new stuff in the bag so that you grab stuff from the front. Now, granted, that's good for them because the stuff is getting ready to expire you're taking it out of the store. But it doesn't benefit you at all. So what you want to do is grab from the back. So whenever I go to grab milk or anything like that, I'm looking at expiration dates and I'm grabbing from the back. I'm getting ones with the oldest expiration date because it allows me the opportunity for it to stay at my home and for me to use it before it goes bad. So shopping back. Also, you want to visit the closeout or the clearance section. Okay. So say for instance, if you go visit there, there might be some things that are marked down. If it's marked down, you just know that, hey, you know what? You got to use it real quick. And so it could behoove you to go visit that closeout section, that clearance section. Oftentimes they'll put meats there. Sometimes you might see, some fruits, vegetables, whatever, if you go in the produce section. So those are all places that you can go. So those are some things that you can do to try to mitigate and reduce your food bill. And so there are tons of them. They're only limited to your imagination. So I definitely would encourage you to go out and, look at your monthly spend on your food. Do you find yourself being tied into certain brands? Now, one thing I will say also, um, don't feel as though when it comes to your food that you can experiment, try some different things. There's nothing wrong with it. You can go a long way with just, adding a different spice or whatever to your food just to really make it taste a little different. So it's really important, and we have to eat, so we want to make sure that we can do it as responsibly as possible. So that's what we're looking at here. So that's what we have. Um, are there any things here that you're already doing? Please share down in the comments below. If you haven't, I ask that you would like, share, subscribe, follow to the Everyday Money Hero show. And as always, I'm going to sign off here, reminding you to trust the process. Have a great day.